Over prime time on Entertainment Tonight.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. The FBI said today that the body shown hanging from a rope in last week's terrorist videotape from Lebanon is almost certainly that of U.S. Marine Lieutenant Colonel William Higgins. Still undetermined exactly when and exactly how the American hostage was killed. Nobody is saying for certain that he actually was murdered by hanging. Our coverage of the hostage story starts with David Martin at the Pentagon.
Any lingering doubt that Marine Lieutenant Colonel Rich Higgins was killed by his captors all but vanished today when FBI technicians completed their analysis of this videotape. The FBI concluded, quote, within a reasonable degree of medical certainty that the person depicted in the videotape is dead. The Bureau could not make a positive identification, but said, quote, numerous observable characteristics were noted, indicating that the person depicted in the videotape is Lieutenant Colonel Higgins. Marine Commandant General Alfred Gray brought the news to Higgins' wife, Robin, who was also a Marine Corps officer. President Bush called her and earlier in the day paid tribute to Higgins in an emotional tone that suggested he already had heard.
One Marine who has been very much in our thoughts, Lieutenant Colonel Higgins, William Richard Higgins.
Later, the White House released a statement saying the president will press for a full accounting of what happened to Higgins. The FBI was unable to determine how or when Higgins died, leaving unanswered the question of whether he was executed, as his captors claimed, in retaliation for the Israeli kidnapping of Muslim Sheikh Obeid. Over the 17 months Higgins was a hostage, U.S. intelligence received 7 different reports he was dead, including one that his body was being kept for later display.
The FBI's findings have not slowed the flurry of behind-the-scenes diplomatic activity aimed at gaining the release of the 8 remaining American hostages. President Bush is described as cautiously optimistic, a view shared by at least one Arab diplomat.
I think that the prospects of success is much more preponderant than at any time before.
But the U.S. continues to prepare for possible military action. The battleship Iowa, now off the coast of Lebanon, has tested its 16-inch guns. The first time they fired since last April's explosion killed 47 sailors. And the aircraft carrier America is due to arrive off the coast of Iran tomorrow. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
The Middle East odyssey of Marek Goulding starkly illustrates the complexity of the hostage dilemma. After 5 days of meetings and motorcades through one of the most dangerous places in the world, the UN Undersecretary could not retrieve the body of Marine Lieutenant Colonel William Higgins.
Anybody who has dealt with the hostage problem knows that it's a very difficult, very complicated problem in which there are a large number of elements and a large number of players involved.
Goulding saw people who count: Hezbollah's spiritual guide Sheikh Mohammed Fadlallah, Syria's foreign minister, and the Algerian ambassador, who was mediating in the overall hostage crisis. He even saw Lebanese politicians, whose lack of influence is part of the hostage problem. The inhumanity of hostage-taking almost pales by contrast to Lebanon's daily situation. After 15 years of violence, Beirut has become an outworld, a place where ordinary people think a good start to the day is finding that only part of their house has been destroyed in the overnight shelling. The Lebanese even deal with their own problems by asking others to solve them. Christian leader General Michel Aoun has approached the Soviets to try and bring peace where he is making war. An apparent truce in the war of words between Iran and Washington is cited as a reason for guarded optimism. Iranian President Hashemi Rafsanjani is being seen by insiders to the hostage negotiations as a serious player who, with help from the West, can solve the problem eventually. He first has to solidify his hold on Iran's turbulent politics, and there will be a price.
Some analysts think Rafsanjani's price will include the return of Iranian money still frozen in the U.S. and Western help for Iran's case in the deadlocked Gulf War peace talks. As Marek Goulding's quest illustrates, it won't come easy. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Damascus.
Israel today said no to the latest proposed swap from the kidnappers and torturers of American hostage Joseph Scipio. Israel said it would consider an exchange if 3 captured Israeli soldiers were included. From Tel Aviv, Bob Simon has our report.
The Israelis tried to turn down the temperature today and prove to all concerned that one of the games they're good at playing is the waiting game. Prime Minister Shamir met with some young Zionists this morning. This evening, he went to a concert.
Well, we're still waiting for some good news.
Younger Israelis amused themselves with a video game called Hostage. Good guys in khaki, bad guys in keffiyehs. Israeli officials, though generally upbeat, said they knew they were playing a dangerous game which could backfire. We're not negotiating tariffs with the Japanese, one said. We're trading lives with a bunch of fanatics. The crisis team at the foreign ministry wasn't meeting very often today. Not much to meet about.
Israel has offered to release all the Shiite prisoners it holds, including Sheikh Ubaid, for the Western hostages and our POWs. That's the offer that's on the table. That's what we're waiting for a reply.
Jerusalem's top officials agreed today to end Israel's television campaign, which they believe has been effective in turning around world opinion on the kidnapping of Sheikh Ubaid. New policy, no comment.
No news today.
There's no news from the occupied territories either, or rather, no one is paying attention. Since the kidnapping of the Sheikh, 7 Palestinians have been killed, at least 63 wounded by gunfire. But the Intifada is old hat compared to a fresh hostage crisis. The Israelis expect little in the way of pressure regarding the peace process, while the new drama plays itself out. Israeli officials said today they were concerned that expectations were outpacing negotiations. Reality simply can't deliver, said one official. The Middle East moves a lot slower than the American media. What we need now, he said, is a lot less in the way of public pronouncements and a lot more Western pressure on Syria and Iran. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
A potentially major development today in Central America. Nicaragua's Daniel Ortega and 4 other Central American presidents wound up their summit with a big plus for Ortega. They agreed on a plan to disband the U.S.-backed Contra rebels by December under supervision of UN peacekeeping soldiers. President Bush wants the Contras kept intact at least until next year's Nicaraguan elections. Today's agreement also calls for what is vaguely termed a negotiated end to the fighting in El Salvador. Growing concern tonight for the chairman of the United States House of Representatives Committee on Hunger and other Americans traveling with him in Ethiopia. Democratic Congressman Mickey Leland of Houston, Texas, and an unknown number of others accompanying him are missing. Their plane flight from the Ethiopian capital failed to arrive at a refugee camp near the Ethiopian-Sudanese border and did not return to the Ethiopian capital as scheduled this evening. Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News. Richard Schlesinger on Richard Strikers. And the dial tone. Also John Blackstone on the new gold rush. And a threatened town.
Here comes the sun, trying to wake up everyone. The sun tries and tries, but it takes more to open your eyes. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your car. Oh, 1 cup and you're on your feet. That old sun just can't compete. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your car.
Attention shredded wheat eaters, you've been missing something. Taste, but no more. Kellogg's Squares brings you that superlative shredded wheat nutrition with no salt, no fat, no cholesterol. But wait, Kellogg's Squares gives you free in every bite. Taste. Sweet, delectable fruit in the middle. You might never eat plain old shredded wheat again. Kellogg's Squares, shredded wheat with taste, free in every bite. And speaking of taste, now Squares have 35% more raisin. Great taste, free.
I am not going to take it anymore.
Sure, Metamucil works, but it's gritty.
I'm not going to take it anymore.
No more.
Take good-tasting Citracel. Citracel isn't gritty, and it really works.
The truth is, heart specialists concerned about aspirin irritation recommend Ecotrin over Bayer to help prevent second heart attack. Consult your doctor about the only brand of aspirin that's safety-coated to protect your stomach. That's Ecotrin, and that's the truth.
A management spokesman today conceded there are some service delays because of the strike against 3 Baby Bell regional phone companies. And with no formal negotiation scheduled, there's concern about possible future disruptions in business hubs from New York to San Francisco. Correspondent Richard Schlesinger reports.
Phone workers began the work week on the line today. The effects of their strike noticeable to only a few people.
I got a message earlier today to call my office, and I've tried 3 times and haven't been able to get through.
About 150,000 operators, technicians, and other workers walked off their jobs in 15 states and the District of Columbia over the weekend. The dispute with 3 regional phone companies is over how much the employees will be paid and who will pay for health insurance. The unions and the companies are reported far apart.
Yes, and what happens when you dial 411?
Management is filling in for the union members, handling information calls, repairs, and installations. And customers are experiencing some delays. Some callers heard this.
Due to a work stoppage, we are unable to give you normal directory assistance service. This is a recording.
There could be further delays with directory assistance and so forth. We have a relatively small group of people, about 10,000 people, trying to do the job of 38,000.
But the nation's phone system is highly automated, and the machines are shielding phone customers from major inconvenience for now. That could change, according to the union.
As the strike continues, this highly sophisticated equipment will become more and more vulnerable.
I'll be out here when the snow flies. I'll be out here next summer, if it takes that long.
Just off the picket line, you can measure how little the phone system has been hurt by the strike.
Later on, we hope our foremen get tired and they can't make the rounds like we can make the rounds.
There have been some informal talks between the unions and the companies, but the parties did not meet face-to-face. Those talks took place over the phone. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
Space Shuttle Columbia is scheduled to rise and shine tomorrow morning for a classified U.S. military mission, the first flight of this space shuttle, Columbia, in more than 3 years. CBS News correspondent Bruce Hall is on the shuttle watch in Florida.
Tonight, all systems are in a go position for tomorrow morning's classified military launch of the refurbished Space Shuttle Columbia. Despite a news blackout, sources say Columbia's 5-man military crew will deploy a new sophisticated 10-ton spy satellite, which will gather information for the Department of Defense.
It's difficult to exaggerate the importance of reconnaissance satellites to U.S. national security. In peacetime, they're used to monitor the Soviet Union and China and other places around the world which are closed to open inspection.
With a shroud of secrecy surrounding this flight, the Soviets are particularly interested in the payload. So for more than a week, a Russian trawler has been off the Florida coast, moving into position to see the shuttle.
The Soviets are going to know the exact identity of this payload within a few hours after it's launched, and the only people who won't know what that payload is the American taxpayers, the people who paid for it.
The only question mark for tomorrow's launch appears to be the weather. The forecast improved today, increasing the likelihood Columbia will blast off within its 4-hour launch period.
We anticipate maybe very early in the launch period, in the unclassified launch period, we might have a fog problem. It does not look like a major issue, however.
The astronauts completed their final preparations today and then relaxed by flying their NASA planes. Tonight, technicians will begin fueling Columbia's rockets, setting the stage for tomorrow's liftoff. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Kennedy Space Center.
What's that?
Common Sense Oat Bran.
Common sense should tell you it takes these 4 boxes to equal the vitamin and mineral nutrition in just 1 box of Total.
That makes no sense. How about 100% natural?
How about 16 boxes?
How about enough is enough?
Total, 1 bowl, 100%. That's more nutrition than any other cereal.
Now that makes a whole lot of sense.
If it's whole wheat Total, it's total nutrition.
Only Red Lobster could create an event this big. Lobster Fest 89. Lobster choices like nowhere else, starting at just $7.95. Don't miss out on sweet rock lobster or luscious Maine lobster. New platters like lobster and crab. Great lobster dishes starting at just $7.95. Kids dinner $1.95. It all ends August 27th at Red Lobster. Friday through Sunday, it's our weekend special. Steak and shrimp just $10.95.
Denture wearers, here's some show-stopping news. This new polydent helps you fight tartar. Its new super strength now controls ugly tartar for an even better clean. Try my new super strength polydent. controls tartar for super clean.
Are your teeth sensitive? Do they hurt? Sensodyne toothpaste can help stop the domino effect that can start with sensitivity. Then pain can make you stop brushing and can lead to tooth loss. Sensodyne toothpaste helps stop the pain and the domino effect.
A national survey by state securities regulators out today estimates that thousands of Americans have been taken, fleeced, for hundreds of millions of dollars by swindlers claiming to be doing God's work. Correspondent Mark Phillips has chapter and verse on those who prey on the faithful.
The faith of some believers, it seems, knows no bounds. A report released today by an investment industry trade group warns that unsuspecting members of many religious flocks are being fleeced by a new breed of con artist. They're being called the false prophets of the investment world.
More than 15,000 Americans have lost over $500 million in the last 5 years to the growing ranks of con artists who are posing as one of the faithful.
A recent notable case is that of Sunrise Management, a Georgia-based firm that is now under investigation for raising $16 million to promote 160 religious radio stations. The problem is only a handful of those stations have broadcasting licenses. The case came to light because Thomas Root, the pilot with the unexplained bullet wound, whose small plane mysteriously crashed into the Atlantic a few weeks ago, represented Sunrise Management.
You first must deposit $50 with Pioneer Development Company. That means that
the scams come in many forms. This one asks for money and promises no return.
That's going to be a 10-year deposit, and we're going to pay you 0% interest on that money. The reason that we pay you no interest is because Deuteronomy 23:18 says that you will not charge your brother usury.
Like the devil, the con artist can use the scripture for his own purposes.
In one scam, 30% per month profits were promised in statements that came with verses of the Bible. Another promised to find oil in Israel based on biblical passages.
Beware of new church members who spring up with surefire schemes.
All U.S. currency comes printed with the phrase, "In God we trust." Today's report shows religious investors should be even more careful than that. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Washington.
Getting out and enjoying yourself, that's what life is all about. And it's easy when you have the best bladder control protection. Depend Undergarments has special layers of absorbency that won't bunch or sag, and elastic legs for a better fit. They're the best protection and the best way for you to get back into life. Hey!
Get back into life with Depend.
There's got to be a cure for athlete's foot.
There is. Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micatin. It cured my athlete's foot. It's got miconazole. There's nothing more powerful than this.
Step up to the cure. Step up to the mic. Micatin.
Everybody knows the pain reliever hospitals use most is Tylenol. But Tylenol is also recommended most for everyday pain by internists, family practitioners, general surgeons, and on and on. Tylenol, recommended the most by the people who know the most.
Dear Malox, my daughter's dates give me Malox moments.
Hey, I'm here!
Last night was a real doozy. What a Malox moment. My stomach did flip-flops. Good thing Extra Strength Malox Plus is so strong. My doctor recommended it, and it's the strongest antacid I can buy. With teenagers, Malox is a must.
Nice house. Nice earring.
Write us about your Malox moments. Extra Strength Malox Plus. Strong relief for all your Malox moments.
Japan today approved a project that could put 300-mile-an-hour trains into service in the next decade. The train is powered by superconductors and moves by magnetic levitation. It reportedly is seen as a showcase for Japanese technology. Japanese leaders are emphasizing these days that today's marvel is tomorrow's antique, and they want the next generation of scientists in their country to get in the early habit of thinking creatively and thinking for themselves. Business correspondent Ray Brady in Tokyo has a report.
It looks like a World's Fair, but while this Yokohama exhibition has fun rides, its theme is space and children. Japan's top companies want to stimulate Japanese youngsters to become creative, partly by giving them a taste of life at the top, in the ionosphere.
Japan needs to encourage more creative thinking and so forth.
Reason, Japan is out to shed its old copycat image of only improving on what others have invented. Now it wants to innovate, and already it's passing the U.S. in a growing number of technologies. Japan may be a country steeped in ancient traditions, but it is moving into the future fast. Just recently, the 3 top recipients of patents granted in the United States were all Japanese companies. And while the old ways are still revered, in Tokyo, 10,000 businessmen a day pour into this trade show, looking at new products developed in Japan. Like a robot that sews a complete lady's handbag, an uncomfortable reminder that before the Japanese bested the Americans in autos and steel, they trashed the U.S. textile industry. High-definition television and 1-inch thin TVs. Japan is way ahead in both. And in other technology, no U.S. company can pack more information on a semiconductor chip than Hitachi.
This is a very serious competition. It's about our children's lives. It's about whether they're going to live as well as we do, and we are not doing well in this competition.
Per capita, Japan spends twice as much on research as the U.S. But critics say Japan can spend, but its rigid educational system stifles new ideas and creativity.
The whole problem is authority is saying, be innovative. Innovation has to grow from within. It can't be imposed from without.
I think it's Americans is fooling themselves by saying Japanese are copiers, they cannot make anything new.
Japan must keep pushing forward in new industries. Case in point, Nippon Steel. It found it could not compete against lower wages in other countries. So this year it tore down a giant steel mill, and a Shinto priest blessed its new business venture. Entertainment, a high-tech space pavilion. To keep the innovations coming, Japan funded a vast research center, Tsukuba City, the city of brains, the Japanese call it, and 12 cities like it will follow. Scientists from around the world work at Tsukuba City. Lee House can work there with equipment the U.S. doesn't have.
The research effort is a little bit more centrally focused.
And they really seem to go all out.
When I would not want to be competing with the Japanese when they decide to tackle a problem.
To tackle future problems, Japan keeps training its young, putting its best foot forward into the 21st century. Ray Brady, CBS News, Tokyo.
What's fair is fair. And frankly, Price Pfister is the fairest faucet of them all. Starting with the fabulous finishes they offer outside, right down to the feat of engineering that's inside. The quality is formidable, thanks to a heart of solid brass. And another fine feature is how affordable it is. So find yourself a Price Pfister, the fabulous faucet with a funny name.
Did you know that certain kinds of diet frozen foods get 40, even 50% of their calories from fat? Fat! Eat smarter. The one you can trust is Le Menu Lifestyle. Every serving is under 300 calories, helps you limit sodium, cholesterol, and is low fat. The only thing we didn't touch is the taste. Le Menu Lifestyle. Eat smarter.
If you treat your hemorrhoidal problems with a cream, try new Preparation H Cream, a soothing cream with a pleasant scent. It helps shrink swelling of tissues as it often relieves pain and itching for hours. New Preparation H Cream from doctor-recommended Preparation H.
This is one of 570 million refund locations for American Express traveler's checks. Now you can get a refund virtually anywhere there's a phone, only from American Express traveler's checks. So if your bank doesn't carry them, go to one that does.
And finally, a story that's the stuff of finest fantasy. Living above veins of gold that could mean great riches for some. It's also a story of great foreboding, facing the loss of the old homestead. The fantasy and the fears come together in one Western community John Blackstone has been there.
Through 120 years of boom and bust, Tuscarora, Nevada has refused to die. But now its 25 residents worry the town will be devoured by the same thing that gave it life, a gold mine.
I have heard, now I don't know whether it's true or not, but I've heard that there's more gold under this town than there is where they're working. Well, you know what that's going to mean. They're going to come in and get it house by house.
The threat to Tuscarora is part of a new gold rush that has more than doubled the production of gold in the United States in the past 3 years. But it is more destructive than any gold rush that has gone before. Today's gold seekers are blasting enormous pits, crushing tons of rock. They're looking for microscopic specks.
Somewhere in there's gold. That's right. I don't know how much, but there's gold.
Huge piles of crushed ore are sprinkled with cyanide, which soaks through the ore, picking up invisible gold.
You cannot see it with your eye. No, you can't see the gold.
The miners dig up 75 tons of earth to get just 1 ounce of gold. With 70 such mines operating or proposed in Nevada, environmentalists worry about the destruction and the potential danger of the cyanide ponds. But the battle for Tuscarora is also a classic Wild West showdown, the miners versus the settlers. Many of the settlers have arrived here since the 1960s seeking peace and solitude.
We own it. That's just the bottom line, and I don't want them to take it.
We're going to fight them. I'll take it to the end, until they drive me broke.
But the Horizon Gold Mining Company says the townspeople are no more than squatters. If true, Della Phillips has been a squatter here for most of her 90 years.
Of course, they'll get the ground because we don't own any of us don't own the ground. I knew that when we came here.
Legally, it's unclear who owns the land. A judge may have to decide. But Nevada law lets almost nothing stand between miners and their gold.
They'll get it if they want it. You're not going to beat a miner. There ain't no way.
Tuscarora says the mine is destroying Nevada's history. The miners say the history of Nevada is mining.
I'm saying what mined was mined 100 years ago is history today. What's mined today will be history 100 years from now.
It's not like the old miners who built buildings, had the family here, and left something interesting when they went away. There'll be no evidence of them, except a hole in the ground, a real ugly hole.
Though Della Phillips' family moved here in 1877, she says she won't try to fight what just seems natural in Nevada.
You know what I'd hate to leave? My trees. I planted those. But you can't let a tree keep the mines out, heaven's sakes.
There's only one part of town the mining company has promised not to disturb. The dead in Tuscarora may have more protection than the living. John Blackstone, CBS News, Tuscarora, Nevada.
And that's part of our world tonight. Dan Rather for the CBS Evening News. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
I'm Kathleen Sullivan. Tomorrow, one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, Cleveland's Greg Swindell. Also, 30-somethings Melanie Mayron tomorrow on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.